For the review for Tears of the Nameless by George Mann, the latest High Republic novel, Phase 3. We are almost there at the end, like Brennan mentioned at the beginning of the show. We are extremely close to the end of the High Republic. This has been a very long journey. I believe like 3 years, will be 4 years by the time this comes to an end, if I'm not mistaken. And what a journey it's been. And now we're starting to reach that point where most of the storylines are coming together. And I'm glad we're finally reaching that point. Let me get some of my, I don't know what I say, complaints, some of my negative, which actually before that, this is one of my favorite Phase 3 novels so far. It's right there. I'll put it top 2 most likely. George Mann has come out. Everything is written High Republic wise. He's knocked it out of the park every time. Battle of Jeddah, short stories. I know this one, he's just killing it. So yeah, Tears of the Nameless. When I was going to say, the only gripe that I might have is not doesn't affect me personally, but I understand why it might some people. This is one of those books that it will benefit you greatly if you've read most of all the High Republic stories out there, from Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, some of the comic books. You need to know a lot of what has happened to really, really enjoy this book. In the past, and George Mann does it here also, all the authors have been great in putting little things inside their stories to try to help people catch up of what happened recently, where the characters are, and where the story is going. But there's so much that they're putting into Tears of the Nameless. As I mentioned before, they're starting to bring all those storylines together. That's difficult to do that without spending 4 chapters just of retreading what happened. And that doesn't happen here, which I'm glad we didn't have to. But I understand if someone just started reading Phase 3 for an example, or just picking some books here and there, they might be a little bit lost or might not know the whole context. And there's a lot of context going into this book, especially with Reath Silas, which is our main character here, and of course the return of his ex-master, ex-Jedi Cohmac Vitus, which is one of my favorite, right next to Ola Jorenes, my favorite characters in the High Republic. He makes a triumphant return. So if you don't know the whole backstory and the emotional connection of those 2 characters, you can read some of it in this book, but if you're not connected to it, it's going to be difficult to have those emotional resonance, as they won't hit as hard as they should for people like myself and others that have had the opportunity to read most of these stories. So that's, I think, one of my only kind of negative, if you want to call it that. But yeah, Reath Silas and Amadeo Azzazzo, this Padawan that it was introduced by Lydia Kang in Tales of Light and Life last summer. He's shown up a little bit in a couple of other books, but he is front and center also here, along with his master, Mirror Lux. They're both here. They do great. But most of the story, Reath Silas, Amadeo, Cohmac, and the villain in this one, Sicarus, a children of the storm. We'll get to that. One of my favorite things about this book, and it surprised me, Star Wars, they've done mysteries before. They've done kind of detective noir stories. They've done with, like, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the great detective out there, right? The Negotiator. We saw a little bit of it in Attack of the Clones. Let me pull up my review because I forgot what was the name of this, but in one of the, sorry, I'm a little bit lost in what I wrote. Anyway, I'll get to it in a minute. What I was saying, I love when, there we go, how it connects different stories. Trails of the Shadows, that's what I was going to say. This comic book that have this Jedi, Emery Captor, as a detective trying to find information about the Nameless and what's going on. They didn't even know what the Nameless was at that point. So they done this type of stories before, detective stories, kind of looking for information. But this was the first time they was kind of scientific based. It reminded me of Star Trek a little bit and other more grounded series where Reath is just there in his lab doing science, doing experiments, trying to figure out. He has the hand of Santeca. He has it there. He's studying the decaying effects of the Blight, how that compares to the husking effects of the Nameless, of the Jedi that they found. They have dead Nameless specimens they be able to bring, and he's testing all this stuff. So this is very separate from what we've seen from Star Wars. So I love that we got to see that. And who else, who better than Read Silas to do this? This is this Jedi introduced to us by Claudia Gray, my favorite Star Wars book so far, Into the Dark as a Padawan. He didn't want to be out there in the wilds, out in the galaxy, going on adventures. He wanted to be back in Coruscant, in the archive, just studying and gathering all this information. He's finally able to do that, put his talents and what he loves into helping the Jedi by trying to find a solution to it. But then he puts all this weight. He has the weight of all the Jedi councils and all the Jedi masters and the whole Republic basically on his shoulders. He feels like he's the only one that can do this. And it starts draining on him. And then it's when you bring someone like Amadeo Azzazzo, this other Padawan. That was the other way when we met him in Tales of Light and Life. He was finally excited to go out on a mission to leave Coruscant and see the bigger world and the bigger universe. He even hesitated if this was the path for him when he had that one night to go out and explore Coruscant. But he decided, no, I'm a Jedi. This is what I'm going to do. So it was great bringing those characters together, similar ages. I think Reath is 1 or 2 years older, but having different experiences. Amadeo has been on the field for the past year, has seen the effects of the Blight and brings like real account, like first-hand account of what the Blight does and how it affects everything, not just people, the planets, the fauna, the animals, everything. And then that helps Reath combine what he's found so far, just studying about the Nameless, and start coming with theories and hypotheses where maybe they work at the same level. Maybe they all originated from the same planet. Maybe the Nameless works in a micro level, a micro system level, affecting the person, while the Blight is on a macro system, macro level, affecting the whole planet and bigger systems. Again, not just living beings, but also like buildings and all this other stuff and structures. And so putting all that stuff together was one of my favorite parts. Again, we haven't seen this too much in Star Wars, so I love all that. Then you bring the return of Cohmac Vitus, that he's out there Indiana Jones style, which was another surprise and reminded me of Indiana Jones as he's out there trying to find the secrets of the Ptolemies, this lost city. He's searching in temples, trying to find, looking at star map. Then reminded me of Jedi Survivor, the video games. So those two things going on at the same time was really unexpected, because I really wasn't sure where this book was going to go, but was very refreshing. It could have been another, we're just trying to fight Mark and Rowe and here the Nameless. No, it was, let's figure out what's going out there and try to find a solution. The Jedi already have a way to go back and forth between the Storm Wall. Ava Chris, also Mann, Buriaga were able to sustain the effects of the Nameless and push back and kill one. So they're trying to figure that out, even though I drained the energy, the force energy from most of them. But now let's find the other component to it and bring all that together. So bringing all this now together is what I love, that we're striding towards the end. So Cohmac Vitus, again, not just trying to find the legend of the Ptolemites, what do they call it? The three Asians and the plague of the Ptolemites. And that's probably my favorite part also. So much things were my favorite parts of this book. But for Cohmac was not just, hey, I'm back, how you doing? His story or his arc is told in two different timelines. One when he was a Padawan with Orla Jareni. So I'm glad that Mann was able to bring Orla back. And a time in Cohmac's life when he was doubting his place, also not in the Jedi Order, but his place among the Jedi. I guess he was afraid to make a leap, like a physical leap over a canyon. Of course, it's a metaphorical leap that he was to do also. And I forgot the name of his master, but was basically saying you're putting more confidence into your fears than into your abilities or something. You're letting your fears control your abilities. Like just let go. Like Jedi say, you've made this jump hundreds of times. Why are you afraid? Now, what if I miss it? I fall, I'm gonna die. Like get rid of your fears. You're letting your fears control your decisions. It shouldn't be that way. Then he's able to make the jump, which then of course plays with what's going on in real time, how his fears of the war against denial back at the end of phase 1, his decision to leave the Jedi Order, his decision to say the way the Jedi are fighting, this is not the way that we as Jedi should behave. We're out there in wars and we're killing, we're not thinking about it. That's not the Jedi way. I gotta walk away from this. It has to be a different way. And he's still trying to find that way and trying to find a solution in his own way, not with the Jedi Council or with the Jedi Order. So when he comes back and then has to confront Reath, because Reath is not a happy reunion. I wish we got more of that reunion, a little bit more emotional. It still was, but they were so busy where everything was going on, so we didn't get everything that I was hoping for. But like Dale mentioned before, it's not the story I want, it's the story that we get, and then we'll decide if we like it or not. I did like it. But Reath, as anyone seeing their father figure, their teacher, leave at such an important point in their life at the end of phase 1, when he was just made promoted to a Jedi Knight, having those thoughts for the past year and a half, 2 years, that Cohmac's decision to leave had something to do with Reath, who had already lost one master and now lost a second master. So having to come to that communication, that trust between the two of them again, was great to see on the page. And I'm glad that we got to see it. It's not something that we had to kind of just make up our mind of what happened. So I'm glad we got to see that. We got some new characters also. Padawan Saf Mora and his master Eve Bayer. I really enjoyed these characters when we got them at the beginning. Spoilers, again, this book has been out for a month, so yeah, this is a spoiler review. I felt very sad when Saf Mora was killed by the Nameless. Again, Sicarus, these Children of the Storm, used to be a member of the Brotherhood of the Ninth Door, that again connects to phase 2 of the High Republic. Children of the Storm are this, quote, children that Baron Bulan has created. They have some force tendencies, some dark side tendencies, but then he infused them with Nameless blood, with blood from levelers. So they are not attacked by the Nameless. They almost feel like they're Nameless and they're feeding on the force. They're not actually feeding from it, but the way it's written, the way his body reacts when Jedi are close, that where he injects himself is decaying, almost pale, sunken eyes. He's almost turning into a Nameless, that way that is described. So it's this almost grotesque being out there with a pack of Nameless going out hunting Jedi. Like Markian Rose's shadow is all over the book, where he's not there, he's not present. We didn't need him in the book to have this foil for the Jedi, this villain out there trying to thwart their plans. And then his victim, or his mission, is to get to Cohmac, because Cohmac has been going to all these different places trying to find information on the Ptolemites. He keeps escaping. That's his sole purpose, to find this Jedi. He thinks he's a Jedi, but of course Cohmac isn't. So it's great to see that back and forth. Unfortunately, we lost Saf Mora pretty early on, but his master, Eve Bayer, survived, tortured by the presence of the Nameless so close to her for the most of the book, but at least made it to the end. So once Reath and Amadeo figure out or believe that the Nameless and the Blight are really connected and it all comes from the same place, they now have to find where this place is. Maybe if we found where the Nameless came and the Blight, then we can find a way to combat it and to put an end to this. And other studies all lead to these people called the Ptolemites. And they had these three deities that they revered, which were the three Asians. Reminded me of the father, the mother, and the son. Father, daughter, and the son from from the Clone Wars, of course, Rebels, and with Ahsoka. So it reminded me of that. It wasn't. Who knows if they connect at some point. But basically, it's Reath and Cohmac go out to try to find this library, basically, that they have, which is in this world. There wasn't any star maps. They had to, again, do all these archaeological finds, Indiana Jones type adventure to find it, raise the library from under the water to be able to access it. And it's basically the body of the Ptolemies were there, and all their memories were encased in it. So when Reath touches it, he basically relives everything that has happened. The Ptolemites sent some people out to find riches and new places and new stories, or more things to bring home, which we know in Star Wars is leave the things that you find that you don't understand, leave them where they belong. Again, going into the dark, when Reath and Cohmac again take the four statues, those four sea statues, away from the Amaxine station and release that ring gear when they brought it back to Coruscant, then the Ptolemites found, apart from all these riches, they found some creatures on a nameless planet. Sorry, pun not intended, but I'll take it. And brought them to their planet. And by taking the nameless out of their planet and bringing them to the Ptolemite planet, then they exposed everyone to them. The Ptolemites were this very attuned to the Force society. Then when you bring the nameless to it, then the nameless, of course, killed most of them. And the three Asians went out to try to find a solution to it. At the same time that they removed the nameless from their planet, then the Blight start, and it's this plague, the plague of the Ptolemites. And then you see the problem with what all this comes to a head is that the planet where the nameless come from is very rich in the Force. So they feed from the planet. They don't have to go out and kill Force sensitive beings because they're feeding from the Force of the whole planet. You remove the nameless from that Force planet, they are attracted to whatever the strongest sense in the Force is out there, which are the Jedi. So that's why they go. They're attracted to the Jedi. They feed on the Jedi because they're away from their main source of energy or symbiosis, I guess. And for the planet, I'm guessing it's missing all this. And then the nameless being all out there, then the Blight starts spreading. Because I don't know, that still hasn't been explained too much, or maybe I just forgot about it. But I love making all that connection. And also the rods. Like the Ptolemites created the 3 rods out there that Markion Row has now. And you can use those to control the Blight, control the nameless, and hopefully take them back to the home planet. So I love, again, that everything now is coming together. And I love the way that they did it. Some people might say, why did we need to introduce the Blight? We already have the Nav, we had the Markion Row, we had the nameless, and I agree. There's a lot of stuff out there, already that the Jedi and the Republic have to deal with. Do we really need it to introduce the Blight? Maybe not, but it's there, and I'm okay with it. Whew, sorry, that's a lot. Aslin Rel, Fallen Jedi. Aslin Rel is here. He's a big part of the book. He is this sort of mentor to Reath Silas, even though Reath knows that he shouldn't trust him. Most people tell him, don't trust Aslin Rel. He's just in it for himself. He always has something in the back of his mind that he's trying to figure out. He talks in all these riddles and mysteries and doesn't tell Reath what the answer. It was Reath to figure it out, and he knew about the Ptolemites, but he thought it was a legend that he wasn't going to be able to find that library with all the information. So that proved wrong. But there's also he's colluding with someone, and then we have a little bit with Vernestra Rowe trying to investigate what Aslin is doing. So I think for the next book, we'll see a little bit more of that. The Vessel, our friends from the Vessel crew, Afi Hollow, Leos Giasian, of course, the best rock out there, Geode are there. They've been flying missions with the Jedi and with the Republic, helping move people in and out from the occlusion zone, or taking the Jedi to places close to the occlusion zone on that border. that sometimes were raided by the now to help those people out, bring Jedi in to help, ferry the people out. So that's what they've been doing with the Bind Guild also. It's helping out. And that's what we mentioned months ago, last year. This is how this is going to end, how the now are going to be defeated is by the power of friendship. And that's what Afi has been doing with everyone in the Bind Guild, is help the people that are being hurt by the now. Her helping take Jedi into the place, take supplies, bring people into less stressful areas or places that are not as affected. So I love seeing that continuation. And while all that is going on, while Reath and Cohmac are out trying to fight the mystery of the Ptolemies to figure out where the Nameless came from, then you have Amadeo with his master Mirolox and the RDC, the Republic Defense Coalition, which is working with some mercenaries, that they need a live Nameless to be able to really study, to know why it's affecting the Jedi, how it affects the Jedi, and to study from a safe place. So those two, along with new characters, Ashton Vall, she was a great mercenary out there. She has a great droid called L77, and a new medic, Dorian Inez, which is this trans character out there. We find that Amadeo is bisexual at this point. He was attracted to a female in the Tales of the Jedi short stories. And now here he has some attraction to this medic, to Dorian Inez. So we got a little bit of that. There's nothing kind of, oh, it's going to leave the order now, be in a relationship. There's not that. He's still young, trying to figure things out. But those three are kind of this group of friends that comes into play that helps them at the end get a Nameless. So by the end of this book, we have a Nameless in tow going to Coruscant. Cohmac and Reath have the secrets from the Ptolemy civilization, the three ancients, and all that now is coming to Coruscant to try to figure out how to move forward. Sorry. Reath still trying to figure out where Aslin falls in all of this. He's still helping. We know he has something that he wants to just for himself. He has something back of his mind that he's playing towards. But one of the few that has been able to survive the Nameless. He's been there since phase 2, so he's over 150 years old. No one knows how he's been able to survive so long. And through all this, the Blight is on Coruscant, under the Jedi Temple, in the Sith shrine that was built over Virgins in the Force, and now the temple sits on top of it, which is something that we've known before. I'm not 100% sure where in canon it's been said, but now it was made there. It was just chapters and chapters were spent there. Little hint or little nugget of information for the Jedi. Maybe don't keep bringing all your dark side artifacts to the Sith temple that sits on a Virgins in the Force in Coruscant. Maybe not a good idea, because they bring everything that they don't understand, everything has to do with dark arts. They just put in the Sith temple. No one's gonna worry about it. They'll forget it. Maybe don't do that. So yeah, all in all, sorry, let me see. Oh, look who's there. Our friends from A Certain Point at Q. How are you doing? I just gotta show that I still have it here. Don't forget about it. Thank you. So if you guys, sorry. So yeah, thank you again, Matt and Jay. Anyone out there, make sure you follow From A Certain Point as Q. Not just follow, listen to the show, interact with them when they ask, hey, send us a question, send us a voicemail. They do great things on their show, or they're great giveaways also. So follow them in all other places. Just put down there, where can people find you? I'll show it up in a minute. Sorry. But again, Tears of the Nameless, one of my favorite phase 3 books of the High Republic so far. We only got 3 more adult and YA books to go. George Mann did a great job bringing everything together. All the characters work. The story, the way it expands what we knew about the High Republic and Star Wars is great. There's a lot of canon connections, like I mentioned before, to phase 1, phase 2, the comics, the audiobooks, everything. So that's, even though I loved it because I've read most of it, can also see how that can be a negative for people that haven't been caught up with everything High Republic. But all in all, I gave this book at least 4.5 stars almost out of 5. Sorry, 4.5 probe droids out of 5. So if you're hesitant, don't be. This is a great addition to your High Republic shelf, and just read it, listen to it. It's great. I love this. Josh Mann, like I mentioned at the beginning, has been knocking it out of the park in all his Star Wars book and all his High Republic book so far have been some of my favorites in those different phases. So